All right. So thrilled to be joined by five-time Stanley Cup champion with the Edmonton Oilers. He is the managing director of Baseball Edmonton, the group that is bringing the brand new Edmonton Riverhawks to the Summer Collegiate West Coast League. Dr. Randy Gregg, welcome to the walk-off. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Nice to be here.
Yeah, boy, I can imagine the last 12 months haven't been the easiest to try to get a baseball team up and going or to be a doctor. You're kind of getting double whammied here.
Well, anything that's important is worthwhile doing. And for sure, the COVID certainly affected everybody in the world. But, as a physician, the one thing you try to do is you try to help all your patients. And whether it's a difficult time or not, it's the commitment you make. And the same thing in the community. A lot of us keep fairly busy. But if you can do something that's kind of special for people in the community, that's kind of worthwhile as well.
So tell me, you reached the pinnacle of hockey five times. I mean, you have five Stanley Cup rings to prove it. But obviously, the fact that you're bringing the Riverhawks to Edmonton means you have a passion for baseball as well. Tell me about your love of baseball.
Yeah, it started a long time ago. I think when I was about 4 years old, I became the bat boy for my brother's team in Inglewood, which is sort of central Edmonton right now. And actually, it ended up, I was probably a better baseball player than a hockey player. By the time I got to a certain level, though, to progress in baseball, you'd have to go to the United States for a baseball scholarship. And by that time, I was in medical school. So I thought, well, probably that's not very appropriate to leave medical school for baseball. So I thought, well, maybe hockey's a little bit easier to make that combination. So sure enough, was able to play a little bit of hockey at the U of A and then progress on. So, but for a long time, baseball has been a passion, and I think it's like that for most people. Whether you play slow pitch or baseball or just scrub when you're a kid, it never leaves you, and it certainly hasn't left me. I love the baseball game itself. I love the strategy, the camaraderie, and the beautiful summer day outside. It can't be beat.
Boy, that's just a story as old as time, eh? You couldn't make it as a pro ball player, so you decided to turn to professional hockey.
Well, I guess probably I wasn't that skilled in hockey either, but I was, I guess, smart enough to pick a team that looked like they had some potential. So in my draft year, I was in first year medical school. So most of the teams in the NHL said, well, why am I going to waste my draft choice on a doctor? And so fortunately became a free agent and had some options to go to play in a number of different places, New York, Calgary. And I thought, there's my mom and dad, all my friends, all my family up there watching this team called the Edmonton Oilers. And God, there's a number 99 out there, number 11. They might be a pretty good team someday. So I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but one of them was not picking the Oilers. It was a great opportunity, and what a great learning experience, not only to win the Stanley Cups, which is the obvious, success of the team, but some great leadership, wonderful memories, and, some great players, not just on the ice, but leaders. And so we learned a whole lot from them.
Boy, you almost come across as psychic with that decision, eh?
Well, a long time ago, I was up in those same stands watching those same players and thought, what, if I could just play one game with U of A Golden Bears, my life would be complete. And one game turned into 4 years, a couple of national championships, a chance to play under a great man, Claire Drake. And he turned kind of an old, slow defenseman into a less slow defenseman, somebody who knew the game quite well. And, you got to credit your coaching staff and the people who molded you. And there was nobody better than Claire Drake back then.
And now, with your attention turned to baseball, and Edmonton has a long history with baseball. A lot of Edmontonians have great memories of attending games in the River Valley at ReMax Field, whether it was the Trappers or the Cracker Cats, the Capitals, the Prospects. They've all called that field home. And now 2021 is going to be the field, the home of the brand new Edmonton Riverhawks of the Collegiate League, West Coast League, right? The WCL. And it is the highest level of baseball that has been played at this field in probably close to a decade. How did this all come to be?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, long before the Trappers were there, I played my junior and senior baseball down there. And what a great opportunity to play in this magnificent River Valley facility. It was the best senior baseball at that time, amateur. And I think a little bit of that love for the game and that facility stuck with me. We knew a few years ago that the facility was struggling a little bit. It was getting run down a wee bit. There was holes in the field turf and things like that. And although the players that were playing there were trying their best, it was obvious that the city council was nervous that if we weren't going to get 3,000-4,000 people in there, they were thinking about shutting it down taking ReMax Field down and putting up condominiums. And I think there's a lot of people in Edmonton who believe that we need a Rogers Place for hockey, we need a Commonwealth Stadium for football, and we need a ReMax a field for baseball as well. So we put together a group of about 25 people who all have jobs and all have families and interests. But they also have a real interest in the community and making sure we don't lose such an iconic facility like that. So it took some negotiations and so forth. We were hoping to work with the Western Canadian Baseball League. That didn't work out very well. And fortunately, we made arrangements with the West Coast League. Just to kind of put it into perspective, in the 2019 Major League Baseball draft, 90 players had played in the West Coast League. So, I don't think we're going to bring in the Connor McDavids of Major League Baseball. But what we may do is we may get a chance for our fans to see that Connor McDavid when he's 18 or 19 going to play college. And then maybe 4 or 5 years later, looking back and say, boy, I remember when he was playing in Edmonton, what a crackerjack player he was. So we're really excited about the quality of baseball that we're going to see here in Edmonton. And we really want to revitalize that facility. We're right now in the middle of putting in a new field turf. It's going to be a fabulous facility. The city's been a really, really good partner, and we appreciate that. So I think the fans who do come out, they're going to be pretty excited about what they see on and off the field.
Well, that's very exciting. I mean, number one, I've always loved, for like a quarter of a century, I've loved watching games down in the River Valley there. The Riverhawks is such a great name, and it really kind of, it puts the Edmonton River Valley, it truly symbolizes what it's all about. Where did the idea for the name come from, and who is the artist that did your logo? Because it's incredible. And can we get jerseys yet?
Well, first of all, if you've been thinking about that for a quarter of a century, you must have started thinking when you're like 1 year old. God, that was really good of you to start thinking about baseball when you're just an infant. It is interesting because there's a lot of thought going into a new sporting team in a community. We could have tried to look at the old history of the Trappers and things like that. And of course, they have a wonderful history. And a lot of us, spent a lot of years watching such great baseball. But we thought, we really need a new presence. And, there is nothing better. I think we can go all across Canada with the exception of maybe Rogers Place or Rogers Stadium in Toronto to think that, ReMax Field is maybe the second best facility in all of Canada for baseball. It's in a beautiful River Valley. We've got such a wonderful place. And now with this new Touch the Water program that the city of Edmonton is slowly designing and will be bringing into fruition, the River Valley is going to be just a great place for people to come and see. So not only did we like the idea of the river because the North Saskatchewan River is not moving, it's a big part of why we're here and the the excitement that River Valley brings to the city. But we thought the Hawks is interesting. The Hawk is a really smart bird. It's aggressive. It's understanding. What we wanted is we wanted the baseball team that were really smart. These are elite summer collegiate baseball players. So, they all are going to school. They're getting their degrees. But we want them to be aggressive. We want to make sure that they're trying as hard as they can and really showing the fans the excitement of really good quality baseball. So we thought the Riverhawks would be appropriate. We did have a number of graphic designers working on the Hawk itself. And so we're pretty excited about the logo, the colors, and fairly soon we'll be announcing the colors of the uniforms, which will be quite creative.
That's very exciting stuff. When can we look forward to that?
Oh, I think the next press conference, probably middle or end of March.
All right. So right around the corner here. Obviously, all sorts of work going into bringing an expansion team to any league. What did the process look like for you to get the ball rolling on this? Did the WCL approach you? Did you approach them? And why did you think that the West Coast League was such a good fit for Edmonton?
Yeah, well, first of all, Edmonton's not on the West Coast. We're on the other side of Rocky Mountains. So the fit didn't make a lot of sense. We tried very hard to work with the Western Canadian Baseball League because they do have a presence. But as you know, the existing Western Canadian Baseball League team is moving to Spruce Grove. And so because of what's called the territorial clause, that would have meant that the ReMax Field would basically stay empty for the next 5 or 10 years. And as a citizen and a taxpayer and an Edmontonian, I didn't really want to see that. So we thought, well, let's think outside the box a little bit. And we went to the West Coast League knowing that they have some fabulous franchises. 2 of the franchises are owned by the owner of the Seattle Mariners. One of the franchises is owned by the head of Nike Foundation. So there's some really good people that are giving back to the community and making sure these young elite collegiate players get a chance to play and really get a good experience. So we said to them, we know we're on the other side of the Rocky Mountains, but we can do some things to make sure that we could be a really good participant in your league. The look of a 9,200 seat facility at ReMax Field certainly, opened their eyes a little bit. And we do have
So the facility did have something to do with it then, eh?
Oh, no question. Well, I mean, that facility is second to none in Western Canada and most of the Northwest United States. So they really love the idea of having their young players play in front of 4 or 5 or 6,000 people. The ownership group didn't hurt as well. We've got some people who are strong business people, but we also have principals, teachers, mothers, former Olympians. We have a lot of diversity in our group because we don't want 25 people with a similar idea. We want to make sure we're a good reflection of the community so that whether we're a businessman or a teacher or a teenager, they can come and really experience really good quality baseball and entertainment.
That's great. Now, I know we touched on this a little earlier on in the interview. The fact that high level baseball has been played in Edmonton before. AAA ball existed in both Edmonton and Calgary in the 90s. Some very strong independent ball was played in Edmonton throughout the years. And the truth is, these teams never failed because of attendance. For the most part, Edmonton always supported their baseball teams. And even full independent leagues have folded over the travel that you need to get in there. So I'm very curious. The Riverhawks are the first and only team in the West Coast League, like you just said, and they're going to Oregon and Washington and BC. They can't be taking buses. What are the travel plans for this team?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And of course, that is a concern. But one of the interesting things, this is a busing league. So when you're going from Oregon to Washington or up into the southern part of British Columbia, these teams are all used to busing. And so the schedule is made so that a team may go on a 6 or 9 day road trip and be able to bus everywhere. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be flying those teams in either from Vancouver or Victoria into Edmonton and back and forth. We'll take our buses to Kelowna and Kamloops, but we'll be flying our team out, certainly with some partnerships in the community. We will make sure that, it's a large cost, but it's a cost we want to incur because we think we're going to bring in such a high level of baseball for our fans. It's really worthwhile. We'll be doing our share of busing once we get out to southern BC and Washington, and we're going to see some great baseball out there. But, it is the cost of doing business on the wrong side of the Rocky Mountains. But we're big guys. We know that there is a business model that allows us to do that and make sure that the kids, these young athletes that come up from the States and some of our Canadian athletes really get a great experience.
Some long bus rides ahead for them. That gives a little motivation for those guys to play a little harder, to be one of those 90 that get to experience the majors, perhaps.
Well, when you look at minor league baseball too, I mean, they don't fly, they bus. And
no, they sure do.
Some of the American collegiate coaches from the U.S. colleges have told us that we want these young players to get used to it, because if they do sign a contract, they're not going right to the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're going to the low A team or the low AA team, and they're going to be on buses. So
they're going to Great Falls, Montana. Yeah.
They're not real concerned about them flying all over. We'll have a 45-minute flight from Vancouver to get them here, but they'll be doing a lot of busing otherwise.
Now, I'm curious, and you did touch on this earlier. For the last 8 years, the Edmonton Prospects of the Western Canadian Baseball League called ReMax Field home. And then in June, like you mentioned, they announced that they're moving to Spruce Grove. As both the Riverhawks and Prospects are in competing summer collegiate leagues, do you think that Edmonton area can support two ball teams like this? And are the franchises, for a lack of a better term, cool with each other's existence?
Yeah, we really wanted to expand the elite collegiate baseball opportunities here in Edmonton, and worked very hard to try to talk to the prospects about being involved in Edmonton. They had a particularly interesting business model that just wouldn't make sense. So we wish them well, and we hope that things in Spruce Grove work well. They're going to have to spend probably $6 or $8 or $10 million putting up the facility they expect to do. So we wish them well in that regard. The key for us is that, what we want to do is we want to promote baseball, whether it's the prospects in Spruce Grove or the St. Albert Minor Baseball or Sherwood Park or some of the baseball programs here in Edmonton. And so we think that the pinnacle of that should be at ReMax Field. We really have 4 criteria, I think, when it comes in, and 4 main goals when it comes to baseball ReMax Field. The first is to put in a very high level of baseball, and we don't think that there's a league close to the West Coast League with regards to the quality of baseball players. So that will be pretty exciting. Secondly, we want to make sure it's entertaining, because we know there's probably 1,500 people that just love baseball, and there's 969,000 people in Edmonton that know what a baseball looks like. But what they want to do is they want a nice cold craft beer, they want some good food, they want a summer day, they want to look over the river valley, and maybe they want to watch a little baseball as well. So we really hope that we can expand this baseball opportunity into a really nice entertainment experience. The third thing is we really want to be inclusive rather than exclusive. In the past 7 or 8 years, basically there's one team playing there, and the rest of the day is pretty well that the facility is shuttered. And what we really want to do is open those doors. So our goal, and maybe it's a little bit lofty, is to have every young boy and girl who plays softball or baseball get a chance to play at ReMax Field. Wouldn't it be wonderful for a 10-year-old to go down and play in a tournament there? It can be done. And especially now that we've invested in putting new field turf, it's just a matter of our interest to make this a community facility. So that's our third real goal. And the fourth goal is, I can spell music. That's about as far as I go. But we have lots of people in our group that know a lot. That Edmonton's a very fine music and arts and entertainment community. And so we really want to expand to have some music programs down there, respectful of the Rossdale community, but make sure that people outside the sporting community get a chance to use this fabulous facility.
That's really interesting, because I remember going to concerts there back in 2000, and then it just stopped. It just, no more music was there. And I know part of that was, like you just mentioned, the community around it. But I really like hearing that you're expanding it from just a baseball fan aspect.
Well, it's important. And, I think if we are a community venue and everybody who pays taxes deserves to have access to the community, then we shouldn't be so exclusive that this is just for the elite baseball players and nobody else. We hope that little guy or girl down your street gets a chance to come and play. And we'd love to be, again, cognizant of the interest of the people in Rossdale. But to be honest, we've talked to a number of people in Rossdale, and they say if the option is either let's take this down and put a bunch of condominiums in there with the traffic flow that will bring, or to tactfully run a baseball program and also some other entertainment venues, they're okay with that. So I think we want to be solid partners at Rossdale, but we also want to make sure that if you are an Edmontonian, there is an option to come down and enjoy this great facility.
Community focus. I like that. That's great. I'm very curious. Obviously, you're building this team from scratch. Who is doing the recruiting? How is that coming along? And when can we expect opening day? Do you know when that is yet?
Yeah, you bet. Well, so the schedule is a 54-game schedule, so 27 home games. It will start June 1, 2, and 3 against the Victoria Harbour Cats. We have a number of great teams coming in. We've got the Portland Pickles. Can you imagine calling a team the Portland Pickles? It's a great team. And so what will happen is we'll have 3-game series. So Victoria will come in, play 3 games, and then leave. We'll go into that place and play 3 games. So we hope that it works out well for the fans, that they can come down at their convenience and watch a really high level of baseball. It goes from June 1st until about the 12th of August when there are playoffs. And the important thing about this league is these are not professional players. They're elite summer collegiate ball players, and they got to get back to their colleges. Now, the great thing about it, and I love this comment because I was talking to the owner of the Bellingham Bells, and he said, if you really want to make these players mad, don't give them a chance to work out between games. These players aren't coming up for a holiday. We hope we give them a great Edmonton welcome and they see what Alberta's like, and maybe get them out to the Rockies and things like that. But really, these are players that are coming to get better. They want reps. They want to be able to swing the bat, have their bullpens, because they want to go back to their college team and maybe get drafted. We have one young fella, for instance, he's a freshman at Long Beach State coming up. And the coach of the Long Beach State team told me, he said, the only problem with this young fella is that there's a good chance he may sign a professional contract before you get there. So here he is, 18 years old. The pros are still looking at him right now. If we get a chance to see him pitch on the mound at ReMax Field, we're going to be pretty excited.
That's very exciting. So who is it that's putting the team together? And does it look like we can see some Alberta talent on the team this year?
You know what? That's so pivotal. When I was that age where I would have to go south to be a better ball player, I hate to see that. Now, of course, U.S. college baseball is really, really good, and it's growing, as is some places in Alberta and BC. But what we want to do is we want to give them a chance to come up and participate. Now, we also have a vast number. I didn't realize it, but there are over 700 Canadian ball players down in U.S. colleges playing collegiate baseball down there. So
wow, I didn't know that either. That's great.
Yeah, it sure is. It's really expanded. And, although hockey is our sport, it's nice to see these young athletes who maybe hockey isn't for them get a chance to play at a very high level. So we've already identified 5 or 6 players that are from the Edmonton area. They're going to come play in front of their friends and family and fans. But we also realize that we have to be very competitive, and we're going to bring up, we've just announced a fellow from Oregon State University. He was drafted by the New York Yankees 2 years ago. He went back to college, and there's an interesting thought about why that may happen. So, these are going to be great players. So I think that level of play will push our young Canadian players to get even better.
How does the recruitment process go? Who's scouting for you? And are you reliant on word of mouth from other people? Obviously, travel is pretty impossible right now.
Yeah, that we thought was going to be a major challenge. Now, we haven't announced our coaching staff yet, and we will at the end of March as well. But our coaching staff have done just an amazing job of getting out down in some of the major Division I schools, the NAI schools down in the States, and talk with the coaches down there who may identify 2 or 3 players that are good enough to play at this level. The West Coast League has a really good reputation, and so a lot of the Division I college coaches down in the United States, in Arizona and California, they understand that they can't send just an average player up. They've got to send a player that's of very high quality. Our fellows have done just a wonderful job right now. We've got close to a full roster of players. We could maybe use a couple more left-handed pitchers, but these young fellows.
Well, we can always use that. Everyone could use that.
I think the New York Yankees could use that.
That's right.
But no, it's really nice. We've had a great recruiting opportunity. We also, as much as we want them to come up and play a great level of baseball, we don't want to be so selfish to think that's the end of it. We're hoping to establish a homestay program. So instead of staying in a dorm or staying in a hotel, these young players can come up, enjoy the Edmonton hospitality, stay in homestays. And we're setting up that program right now. COVID, of course, is a concern that way.
Of course.
But as that progresses, we really want to, in the future, give these young men a chance to understand how great Edmonton is.
That's really cool that you can put the effort in to integrate these players into the community like that. Rather than just stick them in a hotel, like the idea of sticking them with billets or whatever it is, that's great.
It's so important. And, here's a guy who's drafted by New York Yankees 2 years ago, staying in a home environment. Can you imagine how great it was or would be for these young boys and girls in the household to have a role model like that? A long time ago, after I played in my first Olympic Games, I had a chance to play professional hockey, but decided to go to Japan. So I spent 2 winters in Tokyo playing over there. And, I could have sat in my room, my 3-bedroom apartment, and just played hockey. And I thought, no, this might be the only chance I get to see Japan. So I was out seeing all kinds of things. And it just makes such a difference. I look back on those days fondly, and I want to make sure these young players that do come to Edmonton get the best of what we can provide for them.
So let's look a few years down the road. Obviously, to start building a fan base and a team in general is the short-term goal here. However, I know the West Coast League has an intriguing rule that some of the ownership groups are allowed to have 2 teams. And I know we talked about the travel. It just seems like down the road, if there are 2 Edmonton teams, it does make a lot of sense for the travel where they can come in, they can stay for a week, play 2-3 game series instead of 1, and then fly back that way. Is that something that long-term you have your eyes on?
I think as having the operating rights for ReMax Field for the next 10 years, our organization wants to fill the facility. And we're going to be looking at a lot of rentals to minor baseball and softball groups in the shoulder times, the April, May, end of August, September, October. This year we could have been out there November 15th playing baseball. It was such a balmy fall. And so it becomes an option for us.
We can always count on that in Edmonton.
Of course. Every year from now on, that's going to happen. And I've got some property on an island for you too, if you believe that.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, it's certainly an option. Travel is a big expense, and we want to make sure that we're efficient with that. But we've got nothing but really positive support from the rest of the owners in the West Coast League. They like the ability to expand, and they love ReMax Field.
It's one of the best fields out there. We've talked about that this whole time. 27 home games, 27 road games. You kind of went over that. What can Edmonton ball fans look forward to when it comes to the experience at the ballpark? Are you doing some dog days, or do you have plans for things to spruce up the game?
Absolutely. Dogs in the Park, that's been a very successful promotion. I should tell you a quick story because I've had the chance to meet one of our counselors, Counselor Michael Walters, a fine gentleman, really does what he thinks is best for our community. I really respect him a lot. And he told me a long time ago, he says, my wife doesn't like baseball at all. And we went with our two sons on a road trip down the East Coast. We went to Yankee Stadium. My wife was bored. We went to Fenway Park, watched the Red Sox. My wife was bored. We went to a AA game in Annapolis, and I look over, my wife is dancing on her chair. And so I won't forget that, because I think that she's really a great example of the 969,000 people who want to be entertained. Now, I could watch a baseball game and understand the nuances. I've played it enough, but this isn't for me. This is for everyone in Edmonton. So yeah, we're really looking at, we talk a little bit about community. I've talked to about 12 craft breweries in the Edmonton area. We really want to give them an opportunity to expand. Instead of talking to a major food and beverage company in Toronto to come in and run the concessions, we want to work with local concession people, food and beverage people. I think in many ways that will make a really distinct impression on the people that come and watch. For instance, the partnerships. We know there's lots of businesses that are such great community citizens. And so if we give them the opportunity of maybe running a promotion, maybe it's a free ticket if you bring your dog down on a Sunday afternoon. Maybe it's a Frisbee throw. Maybe it's a race in the outfield for 5 to 7-year-olds. Lots of different things. We've researched all across North America, especially in the lower levels, the A ball and the AA, because they have to sell the game. New York Yankees don't have to sell the game too much. And so we're trying to put together a number of great partnerships. And it's, even with COVID, it's amazing the great companies in our community who say, yeah, the COVID has affected me, but this is my community. I want to grow with that. So we're pretty excited about those opportunities. I hope the person who leaves that says, I don't know anything about a double play or triple play, but boy, did I have fun tonight. That's our goal.
Community and staying local. I love how there's such important aspects to this franchise for you. I'm very curious, how did the group that brought the Riverhawks to Edmonton all come together? Because like you said, there's what, 25 of you?
Yeah, so I must admit that this was I guess a philosophy that I had a long time ago. And if you want somebody you can trust, you go to your close friends, acquaintances. I've been involved in sport for a lot of years and been involved in baseball for many years too. So I tap the shoulders of a lot of people that I really trust, and I believe their commitment to the community, also their experience in many different ways. So I think it's a really unique group of individuals that bring a lot of different skills together. But, we really hope that we create a great volunteer base too, whether we have $100 investment or $1 million investment, or just simply an investment in our community. And I want to come out and volunteer. We're looking forward to establishing that. At the end of the day, we can sit down in the dugout and have a pop or a Gatorade or something like that and talk about what we really did to entertain the people in Edmonton. So yeah, I think our base will grow with great volunteers. We're looking forward to that.
Well, I've seen 4 different Edmonton franchises play at ReMax Field, and I look forward to making it a 5th. If you had to sum up what a successful 2021 season would be for the Edmonton Riverhawks, how do you see that?
So from a business standpoint, people would say, well, I'd like to have 3,000 people in there. I'd like to have this kind of revenue, food and beverage and things like that. I guess, obviously, from a medical standpoint, I would like to see that COVID settles down, not only from my patient standpoint, my neighbors, my family, but also to be able to put as many people into the stands as possible. But really, I try to simplify my goals, because what I'd love to have happen is a 30 or 35-year-old girl that comes and watches the game. She knows nothing about baseball. And when she leaves the stadium, she looks around and said, damn, when's the next game? I can't wait. Then we know we're successful, because we know the quality of baseball is going to be great. The baseball people are going to really, really enjoy that. But it's that person who's on the fence, who really loves that outdoors, who loves the craft beer. And we want to entice them to understand how exciting baseball can be. And so that's our goal, to maybe expand from just the great plays on the field, and look at the promotions that we were talking about.
That's very exciting. Dr. Gregg, thank you so very much for taking the time to talk to us about this. It's very exciting to have another place for Alberta talent to play, to not need to go elsewhere to do so. And the fact that you've got 5 or 6 on the roster already, and that there's just that opportunity available to Alberta baseball, it's amazing.
Well, and wouldn't it be nice too, sometime down the line, and there are some great baseball organizations in the Alberta area, to be able to say, as much as I love you, American ball players down there, I think our roster is full of Canadians, and we can compete right with you. That's been a goal of ours for a long time. It will take some time, because of course they do have no snow down there. They got 12-month seasons. They do have great coaching and so forth, but they don't have better athletes. They just have more experienced athletes. So our goal, from whether this young boy or girl is 8 or 10 years old, give them a chance to play and practice in a great facility, as well as their minor baseball facilities throughout the area, and try to make a difference like that. That will be our ultimate goal. I'm not sure whether we're going to get there, but we are Canadians through and through.
I know we touched on COVID a little bit, so we'll wrap up with just kind of the idea that maybe you've got a bit of an advantage on a lot of the WCL teams, in that you've got such a large facility at ReMax Field. So I'm guessing, worst case scenario, if things haven't rolled out and the season starts in June and we're still where we're at now, you can distance, you can go about a backup plan. Do you have that in mind?
It's exactly our thoughts, and hopefully COVID isn't in June where it is now. We think that over a period of time, with the vaccinations, with the change in seasons, and sort of the thought process that we're starting to ingrain in people, that it will be better. But you're absolutely right. To social distance with 9,200 seats is a lot easier than with 2,000 seats. We want to make sure it is safe, of course, and we'll follow the Alberta Health Services guidelines to a T, as every other organization does. But yeah, we're looking forward to that. And I think it's interesting. I was listening to an expert, infectious disease person, on the 1918 pandemic. They call it the Roaring Twenties, and the thought is, well, maybe it's the Roaring Twenties after World War I. Well, in fact, the thought is that after the 1918 so-called Spanish flu, people were so bored with staying inside that once they were allowed to get outside, they were roaring. It was a great feeling of freedom. And so we expect that once we do get finished with this pandemic, there'll be lots of fun down there in ReMax Field for a lot of people.
Let the Roaring 20s begin.
The 2020s.
The 2020s, the Roaring 2020s. That's right. Dr. Gregg, again, I cannot express my appreciation for your time enough. Really appreciate you stopping by the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, it's my pleasure, and thanks a lot for having me.
Absolutely.